All right, so we're talking about solutions, but we can have other types of mixtures. We can have colloids and suspensions. So let's take a look at the kind of differences between those. In solutions, solutions are homogeneous mixtures of small particles, almost kind of individual molecules that will never settle. Right, so the idea here is that the molecules are essentially just by themselves. If we make these smaller and group them kind of together, we can have colloids. They're also sometimes called colloidal dispersions. They are large particles. So now multiple molecules, joined together. That can deflect light. They're big enough particles that they'll actually deflect light. And I'll show you an image of that later. It's called the Tyndall effect. They also still don't settle. So even if you leave it out there for a long time, it's never going to settle out of solution. So example of a solution would be like salt water, right? The ions are by themselves or in ion pairs. A solution of or example of a colloidal suspension is like milk, right? You can't see through it. As soon as you can't see through something, or if it's cloudy, you know it's not a true solution. It's a colloid. There's some kind of large particles there. And milk, you can't see through it. So it is indeed a colloid. But if you leave milk in your fridge for a day or two, the milk is not going to settle out. Eventually it will form clumps, but that's because of chemical reactions, right? If those chemical reactions didn't happen, that milk would stay the same the whole time. And then finally, we have suspensions. In suspensions, we have large particles. And in this case, they will settle out. So if you mix it up, it's going to look homogeneous, but over time, the particles will come out of solution and towards either top or the bottom of the solution. An example of that is mud, right? So that's kind of dirt in water. And here's just some pictures from your textbook, and I think the internet for one of them that gives you examples of each of them. So on the left, we have a solution, right? It's like a salt water. These particles are really small. The salt water will never come out of solution. It's always going to stay in there, and it's see-through. It's not necessarily colorless, but it's clear. You can see through it. It doesn't have to be colorless again. It can be any color it wants to be, but you can easily see through it. In the middle, we have a colloid. Again, this is a mixture, and it's never going to settle out, but now we have these large particles, and it looks cloudy or you can't see through it. And then finally, we have a suspension. In this case, it's something like mud, right? We have these large particles. You can mix them up and it looks homogeneous for a little while, but eventually the particles will settle out. And then here's just an image of the Tyndall effect, right? You have some kind of light coming in. If you have kind of what they call a true solution here, you can see that the light is just going straight through it. Again, if you had this in front of you, this solution would look see-through. If you have a colloid, then it's going to appear cloudy, especially if you have a light right in front of it. So you can see it's kind of cloudy. And so that tells you that you have large particles there. And that's pretty much it.